So I wanted to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and what is their future? Like, where are they going? What are we really going to expect from this team in the future? And the reason why I say this is because I've been thinking, and like, the James Harden trade is most likely happening. And that's just a reality, you know? Like, I'm sorry, but if he doesn't want out this season, then he's under contract, by the way. So what happened with James Harden is that originally, James Harden came into the team as he was traded from Brooklyn, right? As he had spent, I think it was 2 or 3 years there, and when he really did this, he had requested a trade due to like Brooklyn's situation. Kevin Durant was the only one who could play, and he was injured. And Kyrie Irving was the third star, and he was expecting to play on a super team. But in the end, when he got there, Kyrie didn't want to get the vaccine, right? And that made it really difficult for that big three to ever even play games together, as they only ever played like 10 games together. And the only reason why I say that is because I want to talk about how the Philadelphia 76ers look now. The Philadelphia 76ers have always been a team who have been good. If this is when they were winning championships in the 60s, well, they won one. If this is when they won a championship in the 80s, when Julius Erving got there and Moses Malone, or if it's when Allen Iverson was there. Philly is a franchise which normally keeps themselves at least in the playoffs every year and has a superstar. It's the type of city which they are. People like to be in Philly, and Philly, as a team at least, has had a pretty good management throughout the years, like a GM like Daryl Morey or Sam Hinkie. These guys are actually good GMs who have maximize the potential of what this team could be. And now that we see what's going on right now, I do believe that it is important to focus on what is Philly for the future. We know that Joel Embiid is there. And something that Joel Embiid said the other day is really my motivator for this video. Joel Embiid said, I just want to win a ring. I don't know if it's with Philly or with anyone else, but I just want to win a championship. Now, first, what I have to say to that is to win a championship, you have to play like a championship player. I don't know if he's going to be a number two, but when you're an MVP, like he was the MVP of the league last year, I don't know who you want to play with, who's going to be the number one, but unless you want to play with like LeBron or Curry, it's going to be very hard to find someone to put the team on their back. Maybe he wants to play with Dame, which would be a dream for Joel Embiid. But what I really want to talk about is just that, like, where's Philly going? They have a lot of people. And I like Philly because they've been a consistent team. But what I see from them is a lack of awareness, right? Like right now, what you have to build around in your franchise is Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Right, Joel Embiid being number one, Tyrese Maxey number two. And the reason why I say that is, because Tyrese Maxey is a young guy who wants to be with your team. He works out a lot, and he's been consistently getting better, right? And then you have a guy like Joel Embiid, which is your superstar. And I'm sorry, even if he's not, a generational talent who's going to win you many championships, he still is a generational talent nonetheless, who could get you into the playoffs every year. So in my opinion, you have to maximize Joel Embiid, or you have to maximize what he can be, because if you're going to trade him in the future, you at least want a big return. So for Philly, the biggest question is, what can Philly do to get better, right? Like, apart from trading for Damian Lillard, right? Or pulling off some big blockbuster trade where they trade Joel Embiid for a superstar. I don't think any of those is going to happen, and I don't see why any other team would want Joel Embiid over their superstar. I'm sorry. But unless you're a team like, maybe the Hawks, right? Like, it would take a big package to get an MVP caliber player like Embiid. Because let's be honest, it doesn't matter what you think about him in the playoffs. Joel Embiid sells tickets. Joel Embiid sells jerseys. Joel Embiid gets your team into the playoffs, and he puts on spectacular performances every single night. And the reason why I say this is because even though, yes, okay, maybe Joel Embiid is not the player who you would want if your franchise was trying to win a championship, he's definitely the player who you want if you're a franchise, right? Like, Luka is the same thing. It doesn't matter how many times Luka misses the playoffs. The amount of money that he makes for the Mavericks is insane. And in my opinion, you need to take that into consideration when you're talking about superstars. Because, of course, it's easy to, have LeBron in the Lakers and be like, oh yeah, LeBron is good, but you should trade him for a younger superstar or something like that. But the amount of money that LeBron makes for that team is unquantifiable, right? Especially when he changes his jersey or when he makes the playoffs or when he's deep in the playoffs. LeBron and AD have reach, and that's some real stuff. So now, going back to the topic, in my opinion, James Harden is not going to get that big of a return. He's a guy who on an expiring deal. He has 1 year left on his contract. And if you really want a guy like Dame, or if you just really want to trade James Harden, the market is dry. All the trades that needed to happen, people got them out of the way quickly. You saw it, Washington didn't want Bradley Beal anymore. Well, Bradley Beal didn't want Washington, out the way. Chris Paul, out the way. All the contracts, out the way. And really, John Collins, out the way. But really what I want to say is the Philadelphia 76ers now need to find something to do with their team. They have consistently built around Joel Embiid and gave him the chances to be phenomenal with the team that he's given, but he's never done anything. And that's going to continue happening. Now, of course, Philly doesn't want to stop this because he's Joel Embiid, he's a superstar, and he's going to make you money. But in my opinion, if you really want Joel Embiid to be able to compete, right, and to make money and win a championship, I think the step is to get a superstar. Get a Damian Lillard. Get a Trae Young. Get a Shea or somebody of this caliber, which is, it's not a Steph, right? It's not LeBron, where, of course, those guys are going to be hard to trade for because of age and other things. But even if you just get a guy like Trae Young or Tyrese Halliburton, even if it's gonna be difficult, it would be easier for you to form that duo than to keep going with, Joel Embiid, which is a superstar, and then this disgruntled star, which is James Harden. Don't get me wrong, James Harden can pass. James Harden can, make plays happen. He can really run an offense for you. But when we really need it in the game and when you really need him the most, he's either going to show out or he's going to freeze. Now, Philly, in my opinion, another problem that they have is that their lineup, they have become too comfortable, right? Yes, they recently just switched out coaches, right? Now they have a new coach. I'm pretty sure they have Nick Nurse, which is a championship level coach. But now what you need to do is that now what we need to see from this team is that they need to put in work as a team, right? And this is the final thing. The Philadelphia 76ers need help as a team. They're a team which plays very alone, and as we see, that thing doesn't work out, right? It's everyone gets their own share, and that works in the regular season. But in the playoffs, playing as a team matters. We saw it with the Lakers. The Lakers were a team which, in the regular season, struggled a lot. They made some trades. They started playing as a team. They got to the Western Conference Finals. The Nuggets won the championship playing as a team. And the Heat, which were an 8th seed playing team, beat the number 1 Milwaukee Bucks because they play like a team. So if we're talking about the biggest problem with Philly is that they need to stop playing this ISO heavy 2-man game. They need to start playing fluent offense and fluent defense. And their superstars need to step up when it comes to the playoffs, especially Joel Embiid.